And surprise action, because we are doing the very first bonus movie club.
Oh my God, what is this? A DVD bonus feature?
Okay, special circumstances call for special bonus content because, Pat, we both thought, since we're doing movie club and it's been so fun, but like...
It has.
I just thought we had to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, a release that both of us were really excited about. A lot of people are talking about, probably the biggest sort of...
hottest movie of the summer in America.
Yeah.
Big summer blockbuster.
And I thought, okay, why don't we just we do one movie club a month, but who cares? Let's just do a bonus one.
Yeah.
Why not? Like, we want to talk about it. People
Maybe we want to talk about a movie we've seen, you know?
Yeah, that's it.
Geez, sorry for giving you bonus content.
And to be
Jeez.
honest, I'm not anti... just if there's a big movie release like this, just doing a bonus movie club.
Yeah, like we did with No Way Home a few years back.
Yeah, that's it. Before movie club existed. So
wow, the predecessor of movie club.
true. The pilot of movie club. Yeah, go back and listen to our No Way Home discussion on this feed. Also,
Baby Pat.
Patreon supporters will get a full video of this on Patreon, patreon.com/ReadyMike, and head to my YouTube for my thoughts on YouTube. I thought I've done a YouTube video for the YouTube audience, but I also thought it's fun to just talk about a movie with a friend, and that's what this is going to be. But
we pretend to be friends, but we put it on for the camera and whatever.
just for movie club.
Exactly. And then once we're done, we just go home and then we just watch movies that aren't we don't talk
about him in the club.
No.
Actually,
he's all right.
The first rule of Pat and Mike's movie club: don't talk about movies.
Yeah.
Don't talk about any movies not part of the club.
Yeah, those movies don't count.
But Pat, we are talking Deadpool and Wolverine. And we will get into it. Here's some of the trailer.
But my entire world is right here in this picture. And I have no idea how to save it alone, but you know how to save it.
Whoever you think I am. You got the wrong guy.
But my entire world is right here in this picture. And I have no idea how to save it alone, but you know how to save it.
Whoever you think I am. You got the wrong guy.
You were always the wrong guy. You were always the wrong guy.
All right, Pat, Deadpool and Wolverine was released in 2024, was directed by Shawn Levy, more on him later. The tagline is, "Come together," and the description is as follows: a listless Wade Wilson toils away in civilian life, with his days as the morally flexible mercenary Deadpool behind him. But when his homeworld faces an existential threat, Wade must reluctantly suit up, again with an even more reluctant Wolverine. Pat, what are your thoughts?
Man, so I guess in order to fully deep dive and comb through this movie, we need to give some context. Now, I'm sure most people watching would be very well aware, but for those who may not be well versed in the history of Marvel and its characters on screen, essentially the MCU that we know nowadays started out in a much more limited sense. So essentially, in the 1990s, Marvel was facing bankruptcy, and they ended up selling the movie rights to some of their characters to a few studios in order to stay afloat. So, for example, Spider-Man went to Sony, the Fantastic Four and the X-Men went to Fox, and etc.
And side note, Sony, not just Spider-Man went to Sony, but all of any character that was vaguely associated with Spider-Man.
Yes.
And Sony still retains some of those characters, which is why there are a lot of shit Sony Marvel movies like Madam Web and Venom and Morbius.
They're all more like Morbius, am I right?
They're all B movies, and they're all Spider-Man villains because Sony owns those characters.
Exactly, and still trying to retain those movie rights by making those But yeah, and like obviously nowadays, we have all those characters, but essentially before we had the MCU, we had the X-Men series of movies. So for about 20 years, we had a film series of the X-Men characters that weren't made by Marvel, but instead by 20th Century Fox. Obviously, we have the first 3 X-Men movies, the Wolverine trilogy, and the Deadpool movies as well. But
and the sequel X-Men series, which was First Class, Days of Future Past.
Yes. Oh, how could we forget?
Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, as they just
which
progressively got worse.
get worse.
Granted, this is a rant.
That's why Pat's forgot about them. But like First Class and Days of Future Past, I feel
Pretty
like were
good.
But Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, especially Dark Phoenix, are so forgettable.
Especially, this is a rant for another time, but I thought 2016 was a really shit year for superhero movies, and like I just found Apocalypse to be like because I'd just seen Batman vs Superman, so I was like, look, it's shit, but it's better than Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
But yeah, however, in 2019, the Walt Disney Company ended up buying out 20th Century Fox and retained not only the movie rights to, obviously like the whole studio's back catalog and everything that they own, but also the X-Men. So the X-Men movie rights were finally back home at Marvel.
Took The Simpsons with him as well.
The Simpsons,
took Family
Alien,
Guy, pretty much everything.
The Cleveland Show, Alan Gregory, the horrible Jonah Hill animated series that only lasted a few episodes.
You know what? Literally a few weeks ago, I remembered Alan Gregory and I was like, I think I'm the only person in the world who would know that show existed. So it is beyond shocking to me that you know about Alan Gregory. But also the other show like that was this show, we are digressing a bit, but this show Border Town.
Yes, the Seth MacFarlane adjacent?
I think it was Seth MacFarlane adjacent, and the marketing point of it was Hank Azaria was the lead voice actor.
I didn't even know that.
Hank Azaria, of course, is a famous Simpsons voice actor. So it was just like, Family Guy and Simpsons staff joined together to make a new show. And the show was a notorious fail.
Yeah, I don't remember. Didn't it only last like one season or something?
Yeah. I mean, it lasted as long as Alan Gregory. Look at us. We're the only podcast in the world talking about Alan Gregory.
Guys, welcome back to the Alan Gregory podcast. Yeah. How cool is it that the kid wanted to fuck the grandma?
Okay. So, basically, short answer is Disney bought a lot of Fox stuff, which included the X-Men, Deadpool, and various other characters, which we might get to later.
But yeah, and so with this, they saw the opportunity to close the book on the X-Men Fox saga. However, obviously the Deadpool movies came along and they ended up making a horse load of money. And I don't think audiences were quite ready to say goodbye to Ryan Reynolds' interpretation of the character, and also was already successful and well loved, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so obviously they were left in a bit of a predicament. They thought, do we go our own way and just make our own Deadpool, or do we take the already successful and established Deadpool? And Mike, I'm so happy they went with the latter, because I cannot imagine a world where we still don't have the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. Like I don't think there was any chance they weren't gonna use Reynolds at Deadpool.
Exactly.
I spoke a bit about how I was really cautious at first about Wolverine being in this because, for those who don't know, the Wolverine trilogy, because Wolverine was the main character in the first 3 X-Men pretty much. X-Men. Then they did basically a spin-off Wolverine series of films, X-Men Origins Wolverine, The Wolverine, which is set in Japan, and Logan. Now,
which, unlike the Days of Future Past trilogy, got progressively better.
Yeah, it did. It actually improved each time. And the thing with Logan was Wolverine, one of Wolverine's power is regenerative healing.
Yeah, essentially making him immortal.
Essentially immortality. But in Logan, he does die. No, I won't spoil what happens, but he does essentially choose to die.
Yeah.
And it was such a beautiful way of ending that franchise and that
great
character.
Conclusion. Very refreshing.
Yeah.
Especially in the age where there was all the MCU bullshit, you know what I mean? To have just a good story.
And to have something that was willing, even in the point we currently are with pop culture in general. No one's ever willing to close something and
No,
say,
because it prints a boatload of money.
yeah, no one's willing to go, this is over now. And that's why, like, I remember when Breaking Bad ended and they were like, yeah, it's just going to be 5 seasons. And everyone was like, why? Keep making more. It's like, no, like,
And
they're
on a high.
finishing it. They're finishing it because the story's finished.
Yes, Marvel killed artistic integrity.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, well, they ended up making Better Call Saul anyway, which was milking the Breaking Bad franchise.
And the Breaking Bad Netflix movie.
Yeah, but Logan just finished that so much, and Hugh Jackman himself said, I'm not doing Wolverine again.
Yeah, done with the character.
And then, you know, they offer him a boatload of money and it's like suddenly, I'm doing Wolverine again. And
yeah, oh my God.
I wasn't on board with that. I thought it was anti-integrity and anti...
Yeah. Like, I remember when I first heard the announcement, my immediate reaction was like, oh my God, fuck yeah, that's awesome. But I was like, oh, hang on, but doesn't that shit on Logan?
Yeah, that's it. And I guess thankfully in Deadpool and Wolverine, it ends up working really well.
It does.
Because...
And also, spoilers ahead, like if
Yeah,
you
this
haven't already
is-
gotten the idea, we're going to deep dive the fuck out of this movie.
Because the Wolverine in this movie is an alternate universe Wolverine. And I think it works so well because you end up getting the best of both worlds.
100%.
You get Jackman's Wolverine, but it is not the Wolverine that died in Logan, meaning that canonical ending for that character is still intact. And I really appreciated that.
Me too. And I think, and look, I guess, I don't know about you, Mike, I'm keen to kind of go like, you know, bit by bit throughout the movie as we remember.
Well,
but,
you lead this, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously the movie starts with Deadpool in the forest where, you know, they buried Logan at the end of Logan. And yeah, you know, obviously I thought, look, obviously, you know, most of the diehard audience is going to be like, oh, but what about the integrity of Logan? So I do really appreciate that, you know, they immediately addressed it. And as he, you know, he's obviously digging his grave, and also like a great metaphor, you know, like digging a grave, right? Like pop culture. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But obviously pulls out the skeleton. Turns out he's he's dead. He's dead as a doorknob. He's gone.
And he even makes a joke at the very first thing of the movie, I think he said is, I know what you're thinking. How are we going to do... Because Deadpool, of course, is a fourth wall breaking character. He's
meta.
He's a meta
He's like
character.
She-Hulk, but he doesn't work.
Yes, and he says, I know what you're thinking. How are we going to do this movie and do Logan justice? And he says, well, we're not, right? And they reference it directly that everyone's worried about that. And yeah, he starts digging up the skeleton and then gets into a big fight with enemies using Wolverine's corpse, sort of Weekend at Bernie's style.
Yes.
Yeah.
While Bye by NSYNC plays.
Yes.
That was great. And also, by the way, I just want to go on a quick side tangent. After I saw the movie with my partner Kaylee, it was so funny because she was like, that was Ryan Reynolds doing the dance, right? I was like, do you really think Ryan Reynolds like learned that choreography?
I reckon he did.
No, they would have had to get a dancer.
Nah.
I still argue about this with her. Do you reckon Kaylee's right?
I reckon Reynolds is the kind of actor who's like, I'm in the suit and I'm doing it.
But like that was such intense dancing. Like,
yeah, but
like,
I
he
think
doesn't have a background in dance.
Yeah, but Ryan Reynolds is a pretty good actor.
I mean, sure, but like I doubt. Like, would you rather Ryan Reynolds take the time to like optimize his like creative output into the movie so it's like better, or like take a bit of that away so he can do a fucking dance?
But I would argue that him doing the dance is him being creatively involved in the movie.
Look, perhaps.
I didn't at any point think that it wasn't Reynolds behind the mask.
Really?
Just, you know, I disagree with you. But
well,
like,
I disagree with
respectful.
you, man.
Yeah, well, that's what disagreeing is. I can't disagree with you if you agree with me.
Well,
if you agree with me, then I agree with you.
Well, you know what, Mike? Respectfully, go fuck yourself, as Deadpool would probably say.
Yeah.
In the spirit, you know. But yeah, and I was a big fan because obviously, you know, Wolverine being made, you know, his bones being made out of adamantium, the material that, you know, gives the shing all in his claws and everything and makes him tough. I really liked how he like obviously, you know, like digging a corpse, that was really funny, and then fighting the enemies with, you know, his bones. And also, I got to admit, like obviously it was funny, but I genuinely thought it was fucking awesome for him to get his claws like from his arm bones or whatever you call those things.
Yeah. The fight choreography was amazing.
Oh, it was sick.
It was brilliant. And yeah, so then you kind of move into like the plot of the film, which is that
it actually starts.
It actually is pretty funny because it turns out that I guess there's this thing that every universe in the multiverse has an anchor character or anchor person.
Yeah.
And if that anchor person in the universe dies, then the whole universe starts to decay.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like when that one person in a friend group stops talking to everyone.
Yeah, and the whole friend group, or
It
like
fizzles.
when the one couple that is the reason everyone's friends breaks up, suddenly So it turns out the anchor character of the X-Men, the Fox X-Men universe is Wolverine. And because he died in Logan, now Deadpool's universe is starting to decay.
Which is also kind of funny because it's also meta and like he's the only one who like prints money.
Yeah, that's it. And it's true because when they were making X-Men Origins Wolverine, I don't know if you know this, but they announced that they were making they had announced plans for X-Men Origins Storm and Magneto.
Yeah.
But those movies never happened because they
Magneto
didn't think,
kind of morphed into First Class. Storm didn't go anywhere. I would have loved to see a Storm movie.
Yeah, but I guess like the thing is like Wolverine and Hugh Jackman were definitely the most iconic characters from that series,
Hands
right?
down.
Yeah.
And then, so the movie actually starts, and obviously, if you haven't seen Deadpool 2, I suppose we have to give some context as well. So at the end of the movie, he ends up getting like a time travel watch thing, and obviously ends up undoing some stuff that happens in the movie, like his wife dying, or was it his fiance? I forget. But and obviously he also uses it to go into the Avenger or the MCU universe, that Earth, and tries to get a job in the Avengers with Happy Hogan. So in a very funny meta way, it was really fun to see Jon Favreau return.
Yeah. One of many cameos in this film, which we will get onto.
There's a plethora. If you love cameos, you'll fucking love this movie.
Because at the end of the day, and I saw a great tweet from our friend Dave Lee from Dave Lee Down Under, where he actually said...
And he just had a baby. Congratulations.
Congrats, Dave. He said he loved the film, but he did say he was worried that like people who didn't have any context of a lot of the cameos might not grasp what this movie is trying to do as well as like people like us would, right?
Yeah,
But
No Way Home was like cameo filled and shit. Like at least you could get an understanding of it, you know what I mean?
yeah, but I also think that like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and even the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man were more iconic than most of the cameos, which we will talk about soon. But
That is true.
But I don't think the point of this movie is to be like, look at all these amazing I'll explain when we get there. But Wolverine is supposed to be the big cameo of the movie. Well, he's not really a cameo, but he's supposed to be the selling point. But anyway, we will get to it. You go on.
Yeah, and so obviously he gets turned down by Happy Hogan and then returns to his universe where he finds himself in a bit of a, I suppose you'd say like a midlife crisis, right?
Yeah,
He
a bit existential.
Yeah, he starts wearing a toupee. He works at a used car dealership with Peter from the last movie. And he's not really into the superhero or the crime fighting life anymore.
Yeah.
And so he's just kind of living like a quiet, normal life now. He ends up having a surprise party, and we see some of the returning people from the previous X-Men movies, like Colossus.
Or Deadpool movies. Was Colossus in X-Men?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, in the Deadpool movies, he's played by a different actor, but
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So like Colossus, Blind Owl, Yuki, Negasonic Teenage Warhead. He gets a knock at the door from the TVA from the Loki series. Now, for those unaware, the TVA is, I forget exactly what it stands
Time
for.
Variance Authority?
I believe so, where essentially like they keep track of like, multiverse variants who mess with the
awry.
timeline.
Yeah,
exactly. And so, I guess the whole movie is, Deadpool, well, not the whole movie, but he tries to find Wolverine. He realizes, shit, I need to find Wolverine to go on this adventure.
Yeah, so he wants to find a Wolverine in a different multiverse so he can bring him back to his world, and then he thinks that's going to stop the universe from decaying. Yeah.
And so it was a very, very fun scene, seeing him try and go through all the various Wolverines. I got to say, the first one that they showed, I was shocked that they made this the first one, where he goes into this world and, you see Hugh Jackman and he looks like almost the same as he did 20 years ago, but he's like short.
He's like 4 foot. Yeah. And then, I mean, I assume a lot of the other Wolverines that he goes to are references to different comics and stuff.
There's one where he fights the Hulk and they recreate that iconic comic cover. I own that comic, by the way.
Notably, they didn't show the Hulk's face.
Yes.
There was no, just in case
Except
they
in
had
the
to pay
reflection.
Mark Ruffalo for the screen time. But yeah.
True. And we see, a few different variants of Wolverine. There's one where he's playing, poker and he's got an eye patch. But the most notable being where
On the cross? There was one where he was like crucified,
yeah.
and I've
that
never
one was
heard
fucked.
of that. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a reference to something, but
Right. I mean, it must be.
yeah, my favorite though, and I think this will be most people's favorites, where he walks into a garage and it's like the typical Wolverine, and he turns around and it's fucking Henry Cavill.
Yes, yeah.
That was so
unexpected,
funny, and
yeah.
they take a jab at DC and everything, and like even for those 2 seconds, Henry did a fucking great job.
Yeah,
that was
no,
awesome.
good. And then eventually he finds this universe where there's this really like downtrodden Wolverine, more downtrodden than normal Wolverine. And, this is the Wolverine that will become the main character in the movie alongside him. And his thing is, in his universe, he let down the rest of the X-Men and they all were killed. And he's the only one left and he beats himself up about it, right? That's this Wolverine story.
Yeah. And so from there, I guess that's where the movie picks up and the real adventure begins, so to speak. And obviously, we can't not acknowledge it. They even make a joke about it. But seeing Wolverine in the yellow suit, that was beautiful.
Yeah, really iconic. And Hugh Jackman looks so good.
He does.
Yeah.
I remember when I first saw the photos, I was like, oh, he didn't do the hair right. But honestly, after seeing this movie, it's like, what's the point of arguing about that? What's the point of bitching about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so, they end up. The next kind of massive cameo that I think was just beautifully done, and I don't know if this leaked ahead of time or if because I went into this pretty blind, so this blew my mind, is Chris Evans shows up.
Yes.
And
oh my God.
Of course, Chris Evans was Captain America.
Famously.
But before he was Captain America, he actually played another Marvel superhero in the Fox universe. Or was it Sony?
What?
Or it was
no,
Fox.
it was. It was the Fox
Fox.
Fantastic Four.
Because a young Chris Evans played
Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm / Human Torch in Fantastic Four. And everyone, including Deadpool, assumes that Chris Evans is there as Captain America.
Yeah.
And then it just blows your mind. And in fact, most of the cinema that I saw it in started clapping when this happened.
Same.
Instead of saying Avengers Assemble, he says Flame On and turns into Human Torch. And to me, because we've talked about on Pat and Mike how much we love those Fantastic Four movies. Underrated as fuck. Did a YouTube video about them. Seeing that, a tribute to that, was just like chef's kiss. I was like, oh, that is awesome. And everyone agreed because everyone applauded. And
yeah. It was so funny because my girlfriend, she was the same. Like she saw it, was like, oh my God, Captain America. And then as soon as he said Flame On, she was like, oh.
That's it. And that's an example of if you're not familiar with all this stuff, you're like, oh, why did he just set himself on fire? People wouldn't get that.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I also recently saw on Twitter on Culture Crave, a page that I know we both follow, I think,
that's
where
right.
Jessica Alba said, oh, I would love to play Invisible Girl again.
Yeah, man.
And then when I saw Johnny Storm pop up, I was like, oh, maybe she is in this.
Yeah,
maybe she's going to pop up.
There was a part of me that was like, fuck, are we going to get the rest of the team? Is Michael Chiklis going to fucking show up?
Yeah, that's it. But alas, that didn't happen.
Yeah,
but,
that was so...
Yeah, that's okay because other stuff happened.
Oh, yes, much more stuff happened. But yeah, so I guess they, in that scene, they find themselves with a few other previous X-Men characters because they're in this void, right?
Yes.
Just off the top of my head, you see Sabretooth,
Pyro,
Toad, Azrael from
the Hell. Who's the Hell? Is that Azrael? Yeah,
I believe so.
the
Yeah,
Devil. Yeah.
And yeah, it was great to see those characters. Also, gotta say, much more niche characters than you'd expect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that's the idea of what they were trying to do here.
Oh no, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying because
for
all these
sure.
big cameos get saved for the big guys, right?
Yes,
but
yes.
to have I really appreciate I think this. I'm probably better off saving this for the end, but I think for me, seeing these characters was great closure for the end of this Fox saga.
Yeah, and yeah, we will get to that closer to the end because there is a part that happens in the credits that is almost like a parody of what like an ending thing will be, but we'll get to that a bit later.
Yes, 100%.
So, and the idea is, it is quite meta because they're in this like wasteland sort of area on which the 20th Century Fox logo like is in the dirt, like sort of shoved in the dirt, which is obviously a meta reference to this is what's become of this franchise. Yeah. The Fox franchise is effectively dead now as of now. And that's why we're seeing all these other Fox kind of secondary characters floating around this area. The villain is it Cassandra?
Yes, Cassandra Nova.
Who is Charles Xavier's twin sister. And when she originally comes out, it kind of leads you to think it might be Charles Xavier in the way she comes out in a wheelchair and everything. And her powers are really gnarly. She can just like reach inside your brain.
Yeah. I love the way that, and like you see her like her actual fingers like go inside their
really
head
creepy.
and like, crazy effects. But yeah, and so they find themselves escaping that area and finding refuge in, or what I'd like to call the cameo corner.
Yeah, the cameo cabin. Because it is a cabin. It's like a little cabin.
That is true. Very true.
They're in the cameo cabin. And, I got to say, Human Torch was so surprising to me.
Yeah.
And probably my favorite cameo. But when I saw... There are 3 cameos in this section that become main characters of the movie, right? One of them I was like, oh yeah, cool. 2 of them I could not believe we were seeing on screen.
Yeah.
And should I say it?
Yeah, you're welcome to say it.
So, okay, one of them is X-23, and she is Wolverine's daughter from Logan.
Yes.
And I wasn't super surprised. Like, I thought it was awesome they got it.
They spoiled it a week before it came out.
I didn't see that.
Oh, man, good for you. Because I saw that like on Twitter and I was like, what the fuck?
Okay. So I thought it was awesome she was in it, but I was like, would have been really easy to get her to do it, right?
Yeah.
And now she's grown up because she was a little girl in Logan, and that was nearly 10 years ago.
13 or something.
Yeah. So now she's like she's a woman.
Yeah.
And then, but the 2 that I could not believe and actually had to double take was Jennifer Garner as Elektra.
That was crazy.
And I apologize, I don't even know the actor's name, but Blade.
Yes, Wesley Snipes' Blade, who was the first major like mainstream Marvel movie recently, which I wasn't expecting them to like reference.
Was Howard the Duck before that?
True.
The really bad Howard the Duck from the 80s, I think. Yeah.
But Blade was the first like modern Marvel movie. And I was shocked to see Wesley Snipes. I never thought they'd get him back.
And this is the thing, like I actually, for the first, when Elektra popped up, because we're a bit scattered, but like Blade, Daredevil, and Elektra were like, the original sort of Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And they, there were 3 Blade movies.
Yeah,
Elektra was a
trilogy.
spin-off of Daredevil.
Yeah.
But they're very forgotten,
No, honestly, well, it's kind of appropriate they're in that little void, right?
Yeah, and Elektra, the character, actually says the line, "They've forgotten about us," right?
Yes,
because that's
so meta.
I don't think I was going to say, when Elektra came out, my first thought was, it's Carmen Electra, who was an actress, and like in my mind, Carmen Electra played Elektra. Obviously, it's Jennifer Garner, but even was scattered trying to remember. My brain
Who the fuck was this?
My brain was like, wait, what is this again? I was like, oh fuck, it's Elektra, right?
Yeah, and let's also not forget, this was my favorite of the little cameo cabin, seeing Channing Tatum as Gambit, which I'm not sure.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're aware. So essentially, Gambit is an X-Men character, and Channing Tatum tried to play the role for like a decade. He was trying to like...
Was he auditioning for it? Or?
Like they said, like, we're going to make a Gambit movie with Channing Tatum. And they tried to make it for years, but eventually that fizzled out after the Fox Disney buyout. So it was really cool to see that he finally got to play the role.
Okay, I didn't know that. And
Really?
Because the whole time, honestly, I was looking at that character being like, what's this? Like, I don't remember him being in X-Men or something. And I guess I didn't know that reference, like that deep reference. But yeah, having Wesley Snipes and Jennifer Garner, like, it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, and I will say more of this at the end, but that's when I realized I understand what they're doing with this, but I'll talk more about it at the end. And I think I love Gambit though, because his powers he has a deck of cards, and that's his powers, and bit of a nerd reference, but in Kingdom Hearts, this video game franchise I love.
More like Kingdom Heart Mike over here.
True. There's these characters called the Organization 13. They're like 13. Do you vaguely know them? They wear like trench coats and they all have a different weapon. Right. All have like big swords or like chakras or whatever. But one of them, who was one of my favorites, his name is Luxord, and he's the gambler, and he fights with a deck of cards, and everything about Gambit in this movie made me be like, oh, a live action Kingdom Hearts movie would be so good. And like, this is exactly how they would do
that's so cool.
Luxord's power.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Isn't it a shame? Like, Kingdom Hearts would have been perfect for like this era that we're in right now, where like we're getting all these multiverse crossover movies. That would have been fucking sick.
Yeah.
Even an animated series.
There was a cancelled animated series where the full
pilot got leaked,
storyboard
right?
pilot got leaked, but it's voice acted. Yeah. Yeah, but that's another podcast.
That's for the Kingdom Hearts podcast. Yeah. When's it coming, you dog?
Yeah, Pod'em Hearts, Kingdom Pods.
Jeez.
But yeah, okay, so
Hearts.
then, you know, the movie kind of just chugs along in your classic superhero style, to be honest. Like,
pretty much.
And I don't know, like, where do you want to go next?
I mean, the only notable thing I can think of after that is, you know, like Logan, you know, they're outside in the fire pit and he has like a quick little, you know, talk with X-23.
Yes.
It's like, you know, oh, I'm not your dad, kid, fucking whatever. Like,
Yeah.
showing no remorse. Not remorse, you know what I mean? Connection.
Yeah.
And then obviously going on and they find the first two Deadpool variants, being Dogpool and the Namaste Deadpool, whatever that guy was.
Yeah, and like he reminded me a bit of Joseph Green.
Yeah, he
comedian
does have a bit of
Joseph
Joey Green energy, I must say. I haven't seen Joey in a while.
Yeah.
I'm close mates with him.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen him in a while either. But he did an episode of Mike Talks. It's on this feed.
Check it out.
But yeah, no, and then you get the Deadpool corpse where there's like 100 Deadpools that they have to fight and kill, and like, I don't know, coming to the end, you know, both Wolverine and Deadpool have to make a heroic sacrifice that they end up surviving. There's a few other meta comments in these moments, one of which is Deadpool or Ryan Reynolds speaking to the camera essentially and saying that the multiverse sucks now and everyone's over it, which I've been saying on my podcast for years.
So refreshing to hear them just flat out acknowledge it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the honesty, and this is the way to do it with Deadpool. You know, that's what Deadpool does. He breaks the format. And like I was glad they acknowledged that, and they're ready. And then they're ready to usher in the next phase maybe of
That's
Marvel.
it. Well, it's funny, right? Because Kevin Feige came out and said, you know, the big head of Marvel, saying after Deadpool, we're considering all the movies from then on the Mutant Saga.
Okay, cool.
Because everything from Iron Man to Endgame was the Infinity Saga for the Infinity Stones. And then everything after that up until here is the Multiverse Saga. And then so everything from here is the mutants. So they're going to double down when we're going to get like mutants and X-Men and everything. They're alluding to Miss Marvel being a mutant, but
and we know Fantastic Four's coming, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, mate, that's going to be a beautiful movie set in the 60s. Yes, please.
The other kind of meta nod or wink to the audience that happens is sort of Wolverine and Deadpool are like departing each other, and Deadpool says, I'm sure I'll see you around," to which Hugh Jackman / Wolverine says, "I doubt it," right?
I thought that was so funny.
Because
you can't afford me.
I do. And there's also a reference because Chris Evans dies very soon after we see him.
And gruesomely too.
And gruesomely in a great way. But the comment after he dies is like, no, like, do you know he's been blowing out the budget? It's good that he.
That was sick.
Because
that was awesome.
I was wondering at the time, like, how much do you have to pay Jennifer Garner and Wesley Snipes to do this? Because you'd think it's a fine balance of hey, we want you to do it, but we probably could do it without you. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be in it. But
Like, just for reference, Toby and Andrew got $1 million each for No Way Home, and they're on screen for 15 minutes?
But the thing with that one is they couldn't have done that without them, right? Whereas with like Jennifer Garner, if she wasn't there, no one like
Exactly.
because Ben Affleck wasn't there and he was Daredevil.
Oh, and
right?
also I have to quickly mention that was a really funny jab because, like, you know, Daredevil had died and he, you know, Deadpool says to, you know, Jennifer Garner, oh, I'm so sorry, because obviously in real life, Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck got divorced. She was like,
I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't pick that up?
No, I didn't know that.
Like, she just
you
shrugs
know
it
all
off.
the details. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, Ben Affleck's Daredevil was the notable omission, and I do wonder if
He was rumored for so long.
Well, that's the thing. I wonder if it was like came down to money. Where it's like it's not worth us. We can do these ones. Like I said, Toby and Andrew. If either of them were out, the movie doesn't work.
Exactly.
Whereas this one, you know, well, we've already got Chris Evans. The rest is just the icing on the cake, really.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the movie ends positive way, and it's like positive future for the MCU. But can we talk about what happens in the credits?
Yes. So essentially we get, and I'm sure you would have loved this, Green Day's, what's the song called?
Time of Your Life.
Good Riddance.
Yeah. Which is almost a meme in, you know, high school graduations,
moving
weddings.
on. Yeah.
Oh wait, weddings probably not. Good Riddance, no. But like it's like
Good Riddance single
it's
life.
it's the classic like photo slideshow.
Yeah,
See you
exactly.
later. Oh, we're gonna miss you, kind of thing.
Yeah, and they show off some behind the scenes footage of them shooting X-Men, Elektra,
Fantastic Four, and even the 2015 Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that.
The entire sort of Fox universe of Marvel films.
Yeah.
There is behind the scenes footage and, you know, just a montage to Time of Your Life. You see Michael Chiklis, you see, you know, Michael B. Jordan,
Ian Grufford, all these people.
Yeah, and like young Hugh Jackman doing
Halle Berry.
interviews.
Yeah, that was sick.
It's
and even Ryan Reynolds being interviewed for Origins Wolverine.
true. Yes. And, you know, at this point, even though like they've clearly done Time of Your Life as a meme.
Yeah.
But what I then realized that this movie is that this movie, like you said, is a farewell to this franchise, which paved the way for what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
Right? The whole MCU you can trace back to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Blade, Daredevil, Elektra. They were all foundational or fundamental building blocks to get to where we are now. You know, even though Time of Your Life is such a meme, seeing all this footage and stuff, it literally is them saying, we're saying goodbye to this, and it was good.
Because, like, obviously when they announced the Disney buyout, I was a bit sad of like, oh, there was some stuff I liked from that. It's a shame, you know, we'll never get to see some of the X-Men stuff or whatever, you know, end, right? Like, I think for Dark Phoenix, because it came out right after the buyout, they had to change some stuff for it. It's not allude to sequels or whatever. No, I was like, oh, it sucks we don't have any closure, but I mean, yeah, we'll probably never hear from them again. And so to see them like send off this universe and these characters like that, it was like they didn't have to do that. They could have easily just done Deadpool, Wolverine, that's it. I'm so thankful they did.
I agree. And that's when, you know, when I saw Dave Lee's tweet that I mentioned, which I like completely agree with him, but I'm also like, I actually think it's not for I think it's for people like us.
It's not really for general audiences.
No, it's for the hardcore people who have watched all these movies.
Yeah.
And I think that's great.
Like, I think the people who don't know, like, you know, Elektra, Blade, and Gambit, whatever, like, they'll still think, oh, that's cool. Oh, Channing Tatum, that's cool.
Yeah. But if you don't, like, there's so much of the meaning of the movie I think is lost if you don't see Jennifer Garner and go,
oh, totally.
Oh, shit, what?
Yeah.
Because that's what I did. I'm like, what? I couldn't believe it, right? And yeah, I just think that's why they got those actors back. That's why they did Human Torch. That's why they had Sabretooth. It's why they had all these people, because this is a celebration of what came before. And like I said, you know, these movies paved the way for what this billion-dollar franchise is now.
Yeah, definitely. Like, without them, we wouldn't have had the modern, like, superhero movie.
That's it. And like honestly, man, overall, I loved this movie.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so fun and for me amazing. Yeah.
No, I get what you mean. Like, obviously, take out like the novelty of like, you know, the history of you know, the Fox and, you know, pre-MCU movies. Obviously, you might find yourself a bit lost and you probably won't have the same level of appreciation. But look, as a nerd who like loves the history of that and also like has started to feel the superhero fatigue, like this is what we needed.
Yeah. One thing we actually completely forgot to mention, which is just another little thing, is what's her name? Cassandra? Is it
Yes, Casanova.
Casanova. Her base is a dead giant Ant-Man.
Yeah, and his
uh,
skeleton and shit.
I
that
thought-
was fucking cool.
I thought that was really, really cool as well.
Yes.
I think that, is there anything else you want to bring up on the movie?
I mean, yeah, like in that wasteland, you see a lot of stuff too, like the Mad Maxy type things. Like,
Oh, yeah, I
they're
forgot all
riding
about
the Fantastica.
Yeah.
They're riding in Red Skull's big automobile. I'm forgetting any others specifically, but yeah, there's a lot. There's tons of throwbacks, and you even see like in the distance, like a fallen helicarrier and other bullshit.
I did think when all the cameos started coming in, I was like, oh, surely they're going to throw Howard the Duck in here somewhere.
That would've been
it wasn't really
amazing.
Fox related. I don't
Yeah.
It is crazy that was the first Marvel feature film. Howard the
Out of
Duck.
all fucking things, not Spider-Man or anything.
It's
you know?
Howard the Duck. It was absurd. Well, yeah, I really enjoyed it. You really enjoyed it.
Yes, no, that's what we needed. Thank you, Ryan Reynolds. Thank you, Hugh Jackman. Thank you, Fox.
Oh, that's the last thing I wanted to say. Shawn Levy directed this.
Yeah.
And of course,
What a background.
Shawn Levy has one of the most interesting filmographies as a director.
I know the one movie you're going to say. How about we go through the other movies that we know he's done and then end on the one that you particularly like?
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, there's a couple I particularly like, but yeah, he did Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
And
The Night of the Museum trilogy.
yeah, which is a similar. I mean, you can see the stepping stone between Night at the Museum and Deadpool, I guess.
Totally, yeah.
He also did Cheaper by the Dozen, one of my
Oh, he
favorite kids
did,
films.
yes.
Which, you know, we're starting to get away
Man.
from it. What else? Are there any others you know?
Oh my God, off the top of my head. He also did the
The Adam Project? Did he do that?
yeah, the Adam Project. Did he
Yeah.
do Free Guy as well with Ryan Reynolds?
Yes, he did. He did. Yeah,
That was
yeah,
a
yeah.
great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, one of Shawn Levy's first ever feature films that he
Yes.
directed was Big Fat Liar with Frankie Muniz and Amanda Bynes and Paul Giamatti, which is one of my
Absolute
favorite
classic.
films. Probably came out 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Here we are 20 years later, still enjoying Shawn Levy's work.
That's it.
Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Mr. Levy.
Bravo, sir.
Pat, this will be up before July's movie club because I'm going to put it
wow.
up very soon. But looking forward to speaking to you on that as well.
That's it. Tune in to this month's episode. Do we say the name of the movie?
Yeah, Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. Check it out, folks.
See you guys. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll speak to you soon.
Deadpool meta stuff out.